All right. So yesterday we were on 9-5 effects of changing dimensions proportionally, and we ended at example 3, and we were talking about basically being given the area and knowing what that we were tripling the size of the area, and we're trying to figure out, okay, if you triple the size of the area, what effect does that have on the dimensions, the parts of the shape individually? And then with a square, everything changes equally because all sides are equal. And we found out that a 5 by 5 square, if you triple the area, turns out to be a 5 times square root of 3 by 5 times square root of 3 proportion or dimension. So we're going to go look at example 3. We're going to see where we need to go from here. So we were on example 3 on page 623 in the Green Book. I'm not going to go over example 4 with you. We are going to go over, I'm going to try and see if I can get to the point where we can start reviewing today, but we'll see how things go. I'll come back to this if I need to with 9-5. Now we're going to move on and see what we have next. So we've got 9-6 is called geometric probability. Now, I don't really know if I want to, if we need to get into this. I mean, we can, but we haven't really discussed things like sample space, events, and probability before. Now, this is something more like a statistics class would cover. So proportionality, how many, I think what our best bet is to not cover that material. I think our best bet is to move on, and because I don't feel like that would actually be on the ACT. You're going to have things like sample space and proportionality and things like that, or probability, but it's not going to be so much of that as it is going to be geometric shapes and learning about the formulas of the geometric shapes. So let's go through this section here and cover, before we move on, I'll tell you what, let's go to, at this point, I'd get y'all ready for a review and move you into the chapter test for chapter 9. But I think what we need to do, instead of covering this ready to go on part where we're just covering 9-4 through 9-6, we might, if we're going to review that, we might as well review the entire chapter 9. So let's go back and look at section 1. Oh, the guidance? Okay. I'll pause it in a minute. I'll get through it. So what I'm going to do, when he gets here, I'll stop. Okay. So yeah, let's go. We're going to start our review. Chapter 9, and see where we can go from here. So I'm going to put my name up here at the top of my page. And then today's date. What is today's date? Let's see. This is always really fun. 4/28. 4/28. Okay, so now let's go over here to talk about the first thing we're going to do before we get into the lessons is we should know what an apothem is now. We should know what the center of a circle is, center of a regular polygon, center of angle of a regular polygon. A circle, a composite figure, is a bunch of figures all put together. And geometric probability, I'm not covering that. That is important, but it's not as important for us as it is the other material that we've been learning, okay? So let's go in and try to, first we're going to look at the examples, and then we're going to look over here. So we're going to start with number 4 on page 64, okay? So I'm going to write page 64, or 640, I'm sorry, number 4, all right? And we're going to write out what this says, and then we'll look at the example, okay? It says find each measurement. So we've got number 4 is the area of a square, okay, in which the perimeter is 36 inches. So we need to know what we need to use what we know about a square. So first off, the area of a square is equal to S squared, or the side squared, or length times width. But length and width are the same, so that's why we can call it S, all right? Perimeter is equal to 4 times S, because you got 4 sides, right? So this is 4 times S. What is 36 divided by 4? So the side length will be 36 divided by 4, or 9, okay? 9 inches. So if the side length is 9 inches, then we can come over here to the area of a square and put in 9 squared over here and get 81 inches squared. So that's what the area is of number 4. So I'm going to draw a line here. Number 4 is done. So that's how you work that out. You use what you know, the perimeter, and what you know about a square to figure out. So we worked our way backwards here, okay? So let's go to number 5. Number 5, or I'll tell you what we probably need to do is, instead of doing, since we're short on time, let's do evens only, okay? So let's go over here and do number 6. All right, number 6 on page 640. We'll talk about the height of a triangle, all right? Height of a triangle. In which area equals 6x to the third y inches squared. So a triangle where the area is 6x to the third y inches squared. Remember, area is always inches squared, okay? And b equals, that's the base, equals 4xy inches. And base equals 4xy inches. Okay, so let's draw a little triangle. I don't know what the triangle shape looks like, but I'm going to show you how we can kind of graphically judge this. So we've got our height here. We don't know anything about that. We're trying to find the height. Find the height of a triangle with area, blah, 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 right? So the base here is going to be 4xy inches. So it's from there to there. So remember, the formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, right? So if we have the area already, 6x to the third y, set that equal to 1/2 of 4xy times h. So yeah, that's a lot of letters, and that's why you went through algebra first, is because you needed to know the material from algebra and be comfortable with all this before you get to the point where, see, this is what I want, what I just circled. Now you got to get all that out of the way. You needed all that time to practice this type of material. So the best way to get rid of this, now remember, 1/2 of 4 is 2, right? So let's divide both sides by 2, and we're going to get 3x to the third equals xyh. That's what I need right there. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. Divide both sides by 2. I got 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. Now we can divide both sides by xy. You see that? So if I divide both sides by xy, that gives me 2 x's and no y's here. And so my height is 3x squared. All right. So when you cross out the x's here, that's 3 x's there and 1 x here. So I cross out 1 x on both sides. That gives me 2 x's left. I cross out my y's and they go away. There's no more y. Okay. So my height is now that, and I am through with that. Okay. We're zipping through this page pretty quickly. So far your notes look like this. I'm going to let the screen pause for a second to let y'all catch up. If you're on YouTube, you can pause the screen right here and write that down. And let's move on to the next section. All right, we're doing evens on the review, page 640. All right, now we're going to go to number 8. All right, we're going to talk about what a rhombus is. All right. All right, so let's go over here and talk about what a rhombus is. So let's see, number 8, the area of a rhombus in which the D1 is equal to, that's diameter, it's diagonal 1 equals 21 yards, and the diagonal 2 equals 24 yards. Now remember, a rhombus looks like a kind of a slanted square, like that. And if you'll notice, a diagonal, let's call that D1, and then the other diagonal is D2, right? If you take these two diagonals, you can find the area of a rhombus by saying 1/2 D1 times D2, right? So that's your formula, and that comes back from over here. You can see it from right here. The diagonal 2 of a rhombus in which here's your formula, right? So we've got A equals 1/2 D1 D2. So, all right, so now let's come over here. We worked on that problem, that kind of problem a couple of days ago or last week. And we're going to fill in the blanks with our, we want to find the area. So we're going to put D1 and D2. D1 is 21 yards and D2 is 24 yards. Now, guys, I'm going to pause right here. We're going to cut today short because I've got a visitor I need to work with outside. I'll tell you what, I'll start a lesson tomorrow morning and finish this up. And so we'll have to cut this one down to 15 minutes. So 12 times, okay, so 24 cut in half is 12. That's where that came from. And 12 times 21 is 252. So the area is 252 inch. Let's see what this is. It's yards squared, right? Because we got the yard squared. All right, I'm going to have to pause it right here, guys, and we'll start tomorrow right where we're at. We'll finish up the review. Just go ahead and get this this page worked out right there, okay? That's your notes for today. I'll pause right there, and today's a short day, okay? I'll see you tomorrow.